We are joined now by Will Stein, Oregon offensive coordinator, rising star in the coaching community, left-handed quarterback whisperer. I guess that's where I'm going to start, Will. So for those who don't know, you came to Oregon from UTSA, did a great job with Bo Nix last year, but you go from Frank Harris at UTSA, southpaw, and now you get Dillon Gabriel to work with at Oregon, southpaw. Like, do you know something special about working with lefties?
I guess I just know how to move the pocket to the left, maybe better than most. Other than that, there's not a lot of difference, to be honest. As long as they're accurate and they get the ball out on time, we can work with them.
Is that something you actually think about, like in terms of play calling? Because I know I've heard coaches say like most offenses are right-handed because most OCs are right-handed. But like, do you have to think about that in your mind, like when you first started working with Frank?
At times, but it still goes back to what we do well on offense and what he does well. But yeah, I mean, like everything's kind of left hash dependent for me in terms of my play call sheet and how that's set. Probably because I'm a right-handed guy and right-handed quarterback. But yeah, it's nothing that is too out of ordinary for me. Obviously, being used to it with Frank has helped me in this sense now with Dillon. But I enjoy guys that are competitive, that love the game, that are football junkies, and I've been very fortunate to be around a lot of really good quarterbacks.
So you left your last year at UTSA, I think was year 4 of Frank, or maybe it was year 5 of Frank.
Maybe
you got year,
sure.
You got year 5 of Bo Nix, like year 5 as a starting quarterback of Bo Nix, and now you get year 5 as a starting quarterback of Dillon Gabriel. How much different is it coaching guys that are very experienced, that have played in a ton of games?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the conversations on a day-to-day basis are upper level. It's like teaching a grad student, basic level algebra, right? The conversations are well thought out. They usually come very prepared to work. When you think about Bo and the way that he prepared on a daily basis was unlike anybody else I've ever been around. And Dillon has, exceeded all expectations in that, in that facet of his game, is his preparation, not only on the field, but off the field, his film study, the way he takes care of his body. It's truly like coaching a pro. I've never been in the NFL, but I'd imagine this is as close as it's going to get coaching these veteran quarterbacks in college as it's going to be in the NFL. So very fortunate to have been around guys that are veteran. It definitely makes us a better offense.
Now, you also have helped young quarterbacks along. I go back to your playing career at Louisville. You started out as a walk-on, turned into a very valuable quarterback to have on the roster because at first they were kind of putting you in when they needed to. And then you actually were the starting quarterback when Teddy Bridgewater got to Louisville. And he had to come in when you got hurt. Like, how did you help Teddy along during that part of it?
Well, I think it kind of goes back to what I just talked about, a veteran quarterback that knows how to handle his business off the field, knows how to prepare the correct way, knows how to watch tape. Teddy came into Louisville extremely raw, but you could tell from the minute he stepped foot on campus how talented he was and what type of person he was, which anybody that knows Teddy, he's as good of a dude as you're ever going to meet. So, obviously I started in front of him, which is, it's borderline comedy thinking about my playing career compared to Teddy Bridgewater. But things happened. I got hurt against Kentucky and he came off the bench. And next thing you know, Coach Strong was winning a lot more games than he was with me at quarterback, and ended up getting the Texas job and allowed me to meet people like Jeff Traylor, like Tom Herman, and work with other guys at University of Texas. And I think it kind of springboarded my career as a coach. Ended up backing up Teddy, and it made me a better coach today.
How did you decide that you wanted to be a coach? Like at that point in your Louisville career, did you know when football was over for you that you wanted to be a coach?
That's a great question. Somewhat, I've been on a team since I was 4 years old, dating back to T-ball at St. Matthew's Little League in Louisville, Kentucky. So that's all I've ever known is teamwork, is football, baseball. And the greatest people in my life, besides my parents and my grandparents, and now my wife, are my coaches. I'm still extremely close with my high school offensive coordinator, Andrew Coverdale. Still talk to, Jeff Brom, who was my quarterback coach at Louisville, Matt Wells, who was my quarterback coach at Louisville, still talk to Coach Crackthorpe, Coach Strong, guys that coached me, that impacted me as a player. They are my heroes. So when I had the opportunity after I was playing, when Sean Watson offered me a GA job at Louisville, I jumped right on it. I already knew the system. Teddy was coming back for year 3. We had a really good team coming back. And, I guess to answer your question, I never really knew. I didn't dream of being a coach. I dreamt of being a player, just like most of us do. But once the time came and I couldn't get away from the game, it was, adamant to me that I need to get back into coaching.
Now, I was told by a couple little birdies that when you were quality control at Louisville, the move was, after long days back at your apartment, there'd be these jam sessions with you on the guitar. So do you still play? And what songs are your best songs on the guitar?
Well, yeah, I still dabble. I started playing guitar as a 7th grader. One of my best friends growing up, his dad had like this entire music studio. It was super cool. And I've been a music fan my whole life. My first concert was ZZ Top at, I think, 8 years old with my dad.
Nice.
So, I grew up on classic rock and, kind of turned into different phases throughout my childhood, adolescence, and then in the teenage years and today. But yeah, I picked up a guitar as a young kid, kind of self-taught, never took a lesson. YouTube was kind of booming at that time. So I'll just watch YouTube videos, learn, and still have a guitar today. And now that I have a little boy who's 18 months old, got it back out, kind of resurfacing, playing some ABCs, playing some, Ring Around the Rosie, some Itsy Bitsy Spider. So it's my old Hootie and the Blowfish, Dave Matthews Band has now transitioned to some more children's songs. But yeah, it's a cool skill to have and to know. And, I'd like to try to be as well-rounded as I can. I was always kind of the jock athlete, but to be able to have a musical artsy side, I think is cool to have.
You were a guitar playing quarterback in high school. That's not even fair.
Yeah.
So the other dudes at Trinity High in Louisville, I'm sorry, you had no shot. Like it was over.
It was a tough act to follow, at the friend's house when, you have those little basement parties, you bring a guitar, it's a tough act to follow. That's for sure. I know Gary Patterson, I know he's put on some he's set the bar pretty high, So
now that he's got more time on his hands, I know he's he's trying to complete the set of Big 12 schools with his consultant work, but I do see a lot of concert footage of him lately. So he's moving. Now he's way more classic rock than you though. Because they're like the bands that were on his TCU practice playlist, which did not change year to year. Like some of them I had never heard of. Like there was a band called like Sheriff that I had never heard of that was on his playlist.
Yeah. I was more like 311, Sublime. I had my whole kind of rock reggae mix and kind of bled in the country more in college. When you're playing some country songs at a party after a game or whatever in college, I mean, you're golden. So,
especially after a win.
That's right.
Speaking of college, you became pretty internet famous while in college because of one particular screen grab. Like we always have these people who get famous because of screen grabs, like some fan who's doing the surrender cobra. But for you, it was this, and producer River, please put this shot on the screen. This is what became known as Sunny Will Stein. So, Will, this was the cable cam at a game y'all were playing, and you just kind of looked up and thumbs up it.
I'll tell you what, Andy, my mom took that photo from the stands after the game. And
what? Oh, that's what that is? How did it get on the internet?
This is not a cable grab. This is not like a tower shot. Well, back then it was like Facebook, right? Twitter was just, I think I got a Twitter in college, but it wasn't a big thing. Instagram wasn't coming of age, but it was Facebook. Everybody was on Facebook. So yeah, I believe my mom took that and just posted it. There's some funny shot that I did after the game, after a win. Next thing you know, whoever she's friends with on Facebook, I'm guessing, grabbed it and posted it somewhere else, and then the folklore, the legend of Sunny Will Stein was created. So
and Card Chronicle grabbed it, and that was it.
And I think that I think they still post it every once in a while. It's funny. There was some picture of like a young child, like an infant, on top of this giant flag that was created and painted with the Sunny Will Stein. So it was hilarious.
Tremendous.
I mean, one great thing you got to have in your life, you got to be able to have the ability to laugh at yourself. And, that was definitely a funny moment. And it's still in some Cardinal, legend status. So I'll take it.
Well, that's exactly right. That's Jeff Brom has his own Louisville legend, and he's got his XFL interview, and you'll have that. So
I'll never forget when I saw Jeff. Jeff was my first quarterback coach at Louisville. Went to my high school too. I've known him for a long time. And we pulled up the XFL video as a player. It was like a stat. I mean, our quarterback room was like, there was like 9 guys, and it was kind of wild. That was my first year, but I'll never forget we pulled up the XFL Let's Play Football, and God, that's one of my favorite videos. It's a great video.
Did you guys do impressions of him behind his back?
I'm sure there was some of that going on, I'm sure there was, but Coach Brom's phenomenal. Love him, and really excited to see, obviously last year what they did at Louisville and what direction he's taking that program.
So, I mean, you think about this. That means probably Dillon Gabriel and Dante Moore at some point probably pulled up Sunny Will Stein, like in January, February.
100%. Now we have what we call a sensitivity board. It's in our offensive quarterback room. So it's a 24-hour fence. If you're sensitive in any way, we have pictures of everybody. And so I actually have another one. It's not the original Sunny Will Stein picture, but it's another one from me just doing the thumbs up. I think I was mocking the Sunny Will Stein, but that is my sensitivity picture. So if I'm sensitive at all, take the picture, post it up. It's the Michael Jordan crying face, and it's a 24-hour fence. So that's when they get to see the Sunny Will Stein. But everybody's got a picture. So, I mean, we'll find a picture of Dante Moore. Go ahead.
Yeah. I got to figure out how this, I want to understand how this works. So, if Dillon or Dante is being overly sensitive, there's a picture that you can post to as punishment. But if you are being overly sensitive, they can put your picture there.
100%. This is everybody's on board here. I mean, nobody is off limits on the sensitivity board. We have one in our offensive staff room with coaches and their pictures, and then we have one in our quarterback room. So you want to be sensitive? All right, you're up there for 24 hours. If you're super sensitive, it's a 48-hour fence. So if you're sensitive about being sensitive, right, your picture going up, you get even more sensitive, that's 48. So
has anybody stayed up there for like a week or two at a time?
Oh, Bo wrote his name up there last year. Yeah. He's on there forever type sensitive.
He must have been more sensitive in practice because it didn't show in the games. He kind of looked the same.
Right. Let's say we have our throw of the day, right? We vote on it. And if you're sensitive about that you didn't get voted on, you're going to go up there. So, of course, Bo, he thought every throw was the best throw from him, which most of the time they were. He was phenomenal. But then it just got to the point. He was like, you know what? Put me up there. Write my name. I said, all right, I think that just made you the most sensitive of all time. So you're going to be up there and you're going to stay up there. And if you go in our room right now, it says Bo Nix below Michael Jordan's crying face. And yeah, so he's still up there.
As a first round draft pick, he can probably afford to just buy a plaque and put it up there. That's his donation to the quarterback room.
That's right. No, Bo is a guy I love him to death. He's enjoying Denver, man. He's killing it. He's already texted me that he's getting some plays put in that he wanted to from our system last year. So it's really cool.
How tough was that for you coming in where, Bo had so much success with Kenny Dillingham in that first year, and then Kenny gets the Arizona State job, and you come in and your job is to continue that, surpass that. How much pressure is that? And how do you and Bo kind of work that out initially?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, there's pressure, for sure. I think that's a good way to put it. But the first thing that I tasked myself with was, hey, let me get to know Bo, the person. Let me get to know what makes him tick. Let me get to know Izzy, his wife, his dad, Pat, mom, Krista. Let me know the Knicks family. And when he knows how much I care, he's going to allow me to coach him as hard as I want. So that was the initial thing. I mean, I knew he was a veteran guy. He's 23 years old. Guy's played a ton of ball, played in some of the biggest games that you can wrap your head around in college football. So let me know him and let me build off what he did last season in 22 and then try to enhance his game in ways that I saw fit. and then build schemes around him that maybe they didn't have in 22 that I felt could fit him and fit our system. So it just started with getting to know him, building that trust on the personal level, taking him out to the field, experimenting with different concepts, and then learning like what he was taught before. I think a lot of guys come in and try to just, shove new schemes down people's throat. Like, we didn't reinvent the wheel last year. We took what he was good at. We built on that. And, I think the best thing that Kenny did, and then what I continue to do, which I love as well, is give our quarterbacks the keys to the car. Give them the keys. Dante had it. Ty Thompson last year had it. Dillon has it now. Dante Moore, Austin Novosad. We teach the why behind the plays, what is negative about a certain concept, and then how you can get me as a play caller out of poor calls. Out of a 70-game script, 50 is going to be pretty even. O has a good call, D has a good call. 10, we're going to be dialed. We're going to have guys running wide open or big holes for the back. The other 10, the defense has a better call than the offense. So how, as a quarterback, can you eliminate negative plays? It doesn't have to be big gains on eliminating negative plays. It could be getting us back to the line of scrimmage on a simple run scheme, or getting us 2 yards to create a 2nd and 8 instead of a 2nd and 12. So that's what Bo had a good grasp around, in 22. And I felt like we built on that and then grew even more last year in 23.
And you just mentioned not, shoving scheme down people's throat and kind of figuring out what they do best. Like, Dillon's an interesting situation because he's been at 2 different schools, but most of the time he's been with Jeff Levy running that offense. And it obviously worked very well for them. I know your offense is a little bit different, but how do you then take, what and what Dillon knows and have that meld together?
Yeah, first off, I had a ton of respect for Jeff Levy, like what he's been able to do in his career on offense. The guy only has explosive offenses every single year. So knowing that, having a ton of respect for the guy that called it for Dillon prior, and then having a ton of respect for Dillon and his career and his ups and downs. But to answer your question, the first thing I did when we got Dillon on board was I went back and watched every single game from Oklahoma and tagged plays that are in our system that fit what we do, along with what fit Dillon, what fits his eye and his ability. So the good thing is there's a lot of carryover in their shot game, their 3-level pass game. I feel like there's a ton of carryover for Dillon. It's just different words that we use compared to what the offense that he was in before. I was in 2016, I was in, the Briles offense at Texas with Sterling Gilbert, Matt Maddox. Now, it wasn't quite exactly what Jeff's doing now. I think the offense has evolved since the Baylor days and into those early stages at UCF and even Tennessee. You see what Jeff Levy's doing now with his intermediate drop back game and the shots that they have produced. It's way more pro style, which I think goes back to their time with Lane Kiffin. So to me, that's good for me as a play caller, because I know Dillon's been exposed to schemes that are more pro style in their in their premise and their evolution of the play. And so I think it's blended very well. And Dillon's a fast learner. He's eager to learn. He's a football junkie. He grinds. And I think it's been really good for him, because ultimately going to the next level, he's going to be running a lot of these same schemes. And we're going to try to put him in place to have a really successful year and keep this train rolling.
Now, you went from one league to another last year, changing jobs, but now you're going from one league to another because Oregon is moving to the Big Ten. How exciting is it kind of studying these new opponents and getting ready for what new challenges they're going to bring?
It's really cool. I have the utmost respect for the Big Ten. Growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, it was really SEC country, even though Louisville's now in the ACC. But, all the fandom, all the Kentucky fans that live in Louisville, and I grew up a diehard Cats fan. Actually, my dad played there. So I went to every game at Commonwealth Stadium. I grew up in really SEC football. But just north of Louisville is really Big Ten country. So there's a lot of Big Ten fans as well in the Midwest, obviously. So have a ton of respect. My wife is a Michigan State grad. So
oh boy,
whenever we had off at Louisville, I'd go up to Lansing or East Lansing and go to some Spartan games. So I have nothing but respect for the Big Ten. We are it's going to be extremely challenging. The defenses that we're going to be facing this year, I was just looking at, like, for instance, Wisconsin. They're 6th in the league in scoring defense at around 20 a game. But compare that to the national picture, they're top 25.
Right.
So every defense we see each week is going to be stout, is going to be sound, is going to have great players on that side of the ball. And we're going into environments that are extremely hostile. Going to Camp Randall, going to the Big House, going to West Lafayette to play at Purdue. We understand that we're going to be everybody's, big game. It's the Ducks.
Yeah.
It's the new guys in the league. It's a top 3 opponent coming to these venues, and it's something that we don't take lightly. And really excited. I think we've built a roster that's going to be able to really play extremely competitive and play really well going into this league. Coach Lanning and Tosh and Alik, our offensive line coach, have really beefed up the offensive defensive lines. I think we have great skill. We obviously have really good depth at quarterback. We got a back that runs really tough, tight ends. We have a really good team, really good roster coming back. I'm really excited to see these kids compete in this league and hopefully make a run at it.
Well, we always ask play callers about how they feel based on their quarterback, but I am curious. I don't think I've ever asked a play caller this, but I should be asking it every time. Like, when you have tackles as good as Josh Connolly and Johnny Cornelius, like, how much more confident does that make you as a play caller?
A lot. And, the last 2 seasons, in 22, they gave up 5 sacks on the year. Last year, we only gave up 5 sacks. That's a testament not only to our scheme and how we block certain fronts and pressures, but to those players. Like, let's be real, it's a player's game. Teams with the better players typically win the most games. Michigan had the most drafted players last year, and they won the national championship. UW had 15 guys drafted. They played for it. Like Texas, us, Ohio State. The teams with the best players usually win the best games. So it definitely makes things, I don't want to say easier, but a little bit more comfortable as a play caller to be able to drop back on first and second down, to empty the backfield on first and second down, to use our shot plays on base downs, just because we feel really confident with those guys up front, the work that they put in, their ability to process information like our quarterbacks. Josh and Johnny are really smart guys too. Up front, guys see multiple looks on the same play. We call inside zone. To the naked eye, we're blocking inside zone, but to the offensive line, it's going to look and feel and play out like 5 different plays. So
yep, you
have to have, really smart guys up front and tough. But those 2 that you mentioned, along with our other, crew up front, we have a talented group and good people too.
Yeah. Well, I am very excited to see it, because that's, it seems like you guys have built so well on the lines of scrimmage, and then you add a lot of the skill guys like Evan Stewart coming in from Texas A&M to the receivers that you already had. It feels like you got a lot to work with.
I do. It's a fun. I don't call it a problem because it's not a problem, but it's fun. It's fun. It's fun. We're gonna have to do a great job this year of getting guys involved early in the offense, not just on situational third down calls, but base down calls. It's gonna put good stress on me to get those kids involved. And like I said, anytime the best teams I've ever been on have the best players. And when you couple that with a culture like we have, that Coach Lanning has set here at Oregon, built on connection, toughness, sacrifice, and a growth mindset, it usually gels very well. We got a coaching staff that has very little, zero ego. Guys just want to win. Guys will do anything for these kids, for this program, for our head coach, for our president, for our AD, for Phil Knight. Like, everybody's aligned here at Oregon. It's the most aligned place I've ever been a part of in my life. And it trickles down to how we play on the field. So blessed and fortunate to be in this position. That's for sure.
Well, we appreciate it. We're blessed and fortunate to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andy. I really appreciate it, and love watching you and watching the show, and got nothing but respect for all you guys and the hard work that you put in as well.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples On3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.